It's plenty bright enough out here.
See you okay?
Yeah, it's plenty bright enough.
All right, it's 4 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, and welcome to the 48th CALLERLAB Convention in Reno, Nevada. Today is Monday, April 24th, 2023, and this is the Advanced Square View utilizing the database. I'm Jack Platties, and will serve as the moderator for this session. Our panelists today are Jack Platties and Ted Lazat. We ask you to turn off or silence all your electronic devices, Tony, and
Yeah. What's my pacemaker?
yeah, and to assist with future convention planning, we're tracking attendance at all the sessions. So by a show of hands, please identify if you are a caller.
Leave them up. Yeah, nice. What do you got?
26.
Yep. Hold on. Hold on. Are you a caller?
Raise your hand if you're a caller.
Caller?
28.
27. You a
28.
caller? I know you're a caller.
Yeah.
28.
Kind of, sort of.
And now,
Partners.
if you would, please raise your hand if you're a non-caller, partner or visitor or whatever.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I got 9.
9? You said 9?
9 and 1 special eye candy.
That would be Patty?
Depends on your perspective.
That would be Mr. Patty.
All right. So, I'm going to start off. Now, what we're doing today is we're showing basically how we do choreography and keep things in square view. I'm going to show I like to call this the manual method because I'm not actually using square view to create my slides. I'm using square view to actually show my slides and manage my documents all in one place. What I like to do, okay, 2 things. I create, now first of all, we're not teaching you how to use your computer or use Navigator or how to create folders and things like that. It's our understanding that you already know how to do that and create folders and put stuff in folders. You might not be able to use the correct software that I use, maybe use a different software. I use 2 softwares. I use Excel for one of the files, and I use PowerPoint and turn them into PDFs for the other that I'm going to show. So I'm going to look at the Excel first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an Excel file, and we're going to call this my teaching plans. So I'm going to open this guy up, hopefully. There we go. All right, so if you look down at the bottom, I have several tabs, and each one of these is a tab of a different club or group that I teach for, and then within that tab, I put my entire order of teaching. Hope everybody can see that. Okay, let's bring that up a little bit. Okay, so basically it's got the order that I teach a lesson class. Okay, I just finished basics last week, so I've taken all the dates out of basics. Next week when we get home, I start mainstream, and I've got a list of this, and this is the way I like to keep it. Each week, what I like to do is, let's just say I've already had May 2nd, so I'm gonna color code that so it's easily seen when I look down. So I've already done May 2nd. How to do this with the mic in one hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's just say May 9th I've already done, but that was last week, so I'm going to color code that a little bit different. I might give that a blue. And then tonight, let's see, that's May 9th too. And then tonight is May 16th. So I'm going to come down to May 16th, and I'm going to color code that green. All right, so this gives me a visual when I look down at my square view, and I can quickly see when I'm teaching tonight is green, what I taught last week and then I need to review, usually on my second tip, is blue, and everything prior to that is yellow. Anything yellow and prior to the yellow are the things I would probably go in and do on the first tip. But this way I have a quick visual. I don't have to look at the dates or anything like that. I know what I did 2 weeks prior, I know what I did last week, and I know what I'm doing this week without actually having to look at the dates. So anyway, so I'm going to create that. Again, these is just an Excel spreadsheet, and I've created these columns and whatnot in the spreadsheet. The order of teaching is about 98% in the same order that CALLERLAB recommends. I might make a change or two here and there, depending on the group and where we are with that. So then I'm going to take and I'm going to do the same thing for my other clubs. If I got anything going on, you know, my advanced, my C1, my other plus club, and update this file. So I'm going to save the file first within my folder, all right? And then I'm going to save the file as a web page or HTML type file. So I save it as a web page. I hit save. It's already been there once. So all I'm going to say is I'm going to replace it, of course. Hit OK. Some features, blah, blah, blah. Hit yes. And must be
You got it open. You already got it.
Oh, I had it open twice, didn't I? Yeah.
You got it open to the left of the bottom.
Okay, so anyway, everything,
There you go.
now we can save it. Yes, yes, and we save it. So, good to go. So then I'm going to close this guy. All right, and we'll come back to that once we open up SquareView. All right, now I've got files for all my different choreography. I got a folder and it's got my A2, my C1, my mainstream plus, and these, of course, these are programs that I like to use when I'm creating choreography, SD, and animations. So, for example, we're going to open up the plus choreo. All right. So, within the plus choreo, I've got two different types of plus choreo. I've got 6 couple plus. It's kind of nice, cool to have that, and I've got plus get outs. All right. So I'm going to open my plus get outs, but I create my files in a PowerPoint. Okay, because it's easier that way. All right, and that's the way I like it. Easy is best. Okay, so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to pick some get outs that I'm going to use in the plus program. All right, and I'm actually going to go up to the top and I'm going to say where it starts, because we know a get out is nothing more than a module that has a starting and ending phaser or whatever you want to call it. But I'm also going to try and fix it. If it finishes with a right and left grand get out, I want it to start halfway across. So I'm actually going to write that in there. I'm going to play with my terminations or my checkers, and we'll figure out where's a good place to start that get out, or where I want the square. In this case, this one's corner box rotated right. But anyway, I write all this stuff in here. Okay? And I can change it. I can go back and change it. I can change the color, whatever I want to do. And I'm going to create in this file. I've got like 19 get outs. And so these particular get outs, you know, I might refer to in the course of the dance evening. So these things are going to be created. Once I get my file completely done, I do some color coding for a couple things, like, you know, this is a home get out, so these are color coded. Maybe this is a partner line get out, and these are, I call these Dixie Grand line get outs. A Dixie Grand line, in case you're wondering, is anywhere you can pass through wheel and dealing and do a Dixie Grand. So the Dixie Grand line, I've got several of those. I've got a few harder ones, okay? And I've got these listed as DVD, just so I'll make sure, depending on what group I am. So anyway, I get my file completely done, all right? Got everything where I want it, so I'm going to save the file, of course, all right? And then I'm going to save it as a PDF. So I'm not going to go through this because it'll take a while to do it. It's already there. I'm just going to create the PDF, and you can do that within PowerPoint. If you're using an older version of PowerPoint and it doesn't have the create PDF function, you can always save it as a PDF. Okay? And you just save it as a PDF. There's your PDF. You can save it as a PDF. Or you can even print it as a PDF. So there's 3 different ways to create it if you want to do it that way. And you just go in and pick PDF here, and save it as a PDF. Now why do I do it? Why do I save it as a PDF? Because SquareView sees the PDF better than it sees a PowerPoint. Now I'll demonstrate both those. But SquareView actually sees the PDF better than the PowerPoint. So anyway, get all that done, and I'm ready to rock and roll. So now I've got all my files done. I got my get outs done. I've got my teaching plan done. So let's open Square View. While it's opening. All right. So now I got Square View open. I haven't downloaded a new version of Square View in several years because I'm very happy with the one I got. Okay? Some guys like to update them all the time. I'm very happy with what I got. So the first thing I'm going to do is look. If you look up at the top here, I've got different tabs, plus get outs, A2, C1 cards, 6 couple. I've got all this stuff. And if you want to know where to get how to rename those tabs, you're going to go to your music setting, okay? And then there's a global. Maybe it's not.
That isn't where it is.
Yeah, it's not there. It's in the other one.
I'm going to cover it if you want to wait. I'll do it.
It's in the lyrics.
There you go.
Yeah. It's in the lyrics.
Jack, I
Okay.
couldn't see what you clicked on back here.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I'm going to
Tools or options.
You want options?
options,
Choreography.
choreography,
don't
and
think-
then I'm going to pick global. That way, when it means global, it means it'll come up that way no matter what level I've changed my Square View to. The tabs will be the same all the way across the top. So I'll pick global, and I'll pick, like tab number 5 is mainstream get outs. Tab number 3, I'll write in teaching plans, and that would be over here. Obviously, the first couple tabs don't call them, they don't have numbers on them. And then I'll name each tab, all right? And Ted's actually going to go into that a little bit more in detail, so I don't want to steal his thunder, but I just wanted to tell you about naming the tabs. So I name all my tabs, all right? So let's go to the teaching one. Well, first of all, to get this in here, all right, there's an icon over here to the left called File, and this is just simply navigating through your computer. I'm going to go in. I'm going to pick the folders that they're in. This would be on the desktop under the Jack folder. This would be teaching programs, and then I will pick the teaching plans.
You want the HTML?
Yeah, I'll pick the teaching plan, and I'll hit open, and then it'll populate here. Say you open up Square View and it's not there, but you've already done it once before, you've already done the file lookup, then all you have to do is hit this code, this guy right here called reload, and it will reload that particular Excel file. Square View reads Excel very good. Now sometimes you have to go back to your file, to your folder, and play with it a little bit so that you get the whole thing on one screen. If not, you can definitely get as many, you can arrow down and get as much as you want. But I like having it on one screen, and it works out real nice. You'll notice it's still got all the tabs. I can go through the tabs depending on what night I'm working with, and there's my teaching thing. So I got our Square View up. I'm playing music. I want to get over to the teaching plan so I can look down. I've got it color coded so I can quickly see, and I don't have to sit there and read the date and all that kind of stuff. So it works out real nice. Prior to the tip, I'm going to go in and pick me 3 or 4 get outs that I'm going to use that tip, and then I'm going to focus on my choreography on. So I'll go through here and I'll arrow down. Now you notice these were in PDF. You can actually use the down arrow. That's what I'm doing right now, using the up and down keys, and it just goes slide by slide, just like a presentation. You could also search. Okay, if I hit a Control F, it'll bring up the search. Let's say I want I don't know, follow your neighbor. I know I've got something with follow your neighbor in there, and it will search for follow your neighbor. All right, if I got more than one, I can hit next, and it'll find the next one. All right, and then when I'm done with that, then tell me I'm done. Can't find that anymore. So you can do it that way too. If you want to focus on follow your neighbor, then you're going to search the slides that has follow your neighbor, or you can arrow up and down through it. Now, this is done in a PDF. If I were to load it as a PowerPoint, So I'm gonna pick file, I'm gonna go through and find, all through my directories, and I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna pick this PowerPoint. Look at the difference. It'll still load up in PowerPoint, but it's just a little bit different. It actually brings up the PowerPoint program. So then you have to toggle back and forth between SquareView and PowerPoint, okay? So that's why I like doing it in the PDF. The PDF loads right into SquareView. On the top, I've got all the different files. That's all I've got. That's another reason I like the old programs that way. Somebody else's choreography.
Yeah.
But be careful using it.
Oh, yeah.
Always check them out, right? Anyway, so I've got everything here. I don't have to change between levels. You can put all your C1 stuff in the C1, in the C1 level. You can put all your plus stuff in the plus level. I like having it across the top, so I don't have to change. I can just go get everything I need. And that's how I load my choreography and my teaching plans, and how I kind of organize it through using one file. That way I don't have to toggle back and forth between all the different folders that could be up, or all the different pieces of software that could be up at the bottom of the screen or anything. I can just toggle right through SquareView and do everything I need. Questions on my style?
Can you?
Oh, hold on the mic, please.
Yep, on the mic.
Let me come down and get that.
Can you take, because you already had things populated, can you take and make a blank tab, start with a blank tab and put something in there?
Sure.
I'm gonna do that. Well, ish.
Are you gonna do that?
Ish.
Okay, then he'll do that then. That's not just Tedless eyes.
Next question.
Your name and where you are?
Helen Halley, caller partner. For those of you who are familiar with Excel, you can also put a million tabs in your Excel file and then create links, and the links will work when you get them loaded into SquareView.
Correct. However, that opens up a separate file when you create the link.
You do have to save it as the HTML, just like you did. But what I'm saying is those links will also work. So if you've got a whole bunch of tabs, they can be difficult to see and click at the bottom.
Correct. Do you have a link page? I
And
see where you're going.
yeah, we start with a link
Yep,
page.
absolutely. That works out real nice too. I don't have that many tabs. I don't have that much choreography.
There you go. Anybody else? Because we have to change computers in order to do everything. All right, thanks, Jack.
All right, good deal.
Yay, Jack.
Now,
Jack.
if you would, give us a second here. We'll switch seats.
As we're switching, remember, I don't know if we noticed, but there's, for the sake of the tape, this is being videoed as well. So if you get the package, you're going to get everything on the screen that is being looked at. And so I know some of you are frantically writing to keep track of where everything is. So it will be on the screen there. So I'm taking the second half of this. Thank you, I'm going to need that. So I'm going to discuss a little bit about the database and where we're at with this. So a few different things here as I open multiple versions of SquareView. Awesome. What do you need? Your water? Anything else? Want this? Sure. Okay. So I will say that when I started, I did a lot of some stuff like Jack did. I would put things into Word and bring it back in and use it in different spots. For example, and I think in the plus section, I've done that as well. Just ignore these, they're bad links, and I know that. But for example, like this, I had get outs, I did them in Word and made little boxes and stuff when I was playing. And it does do certain things. So as we do this, there is no right way. SquareView has got a bunch of different ways to do a bunch of different things. So decide what you like and what you want to use and so forth as you're going through there. So I wanted to get a little bit more into looking at the basic, into what he was talking about. The idea here is when you set up a database anywhere, if you know anything about databases, the first step is planning. What do you want to do? What is your outcome? Think of it as building a house. You're not going to build a house as one big open room, throw all the furniture in it, and then decide where you want to put the walls. You got to do it in the other order. What do you want, where do you want it, and how do you want to organize it? And really sit down and really idea what you want to do. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why I have it set up the way I do, because I did a little self-analysis and I'm thinking, I've done it this way, that way, and I've had to start over a few times because I decided to do it differently as I got going. So for an extra added piece here, during COVID, we put together a little series called the Class Series that was online. Some of you may have watched at some point in time. And we had the owner and coder of this software, Thomas Burnhead, did 2 sessions for us, one with basics and one with advanced. You can find that under GSI Color School/class if you've never seen it before. There's 40 different videos, about an hour long or so. But I went back and watched Thomas's at least 3 times for when I was starting to do it. When he gave the presentation, I'm like, oh my gosh, that would be really cool. I want to transition from the way Jack was doing it to this other way. And then I went back and I watched that. So you're getting a summarized version of what I did based on what Thomas was telling us how to do. So it just gives you another bit to look at it. So from here, again, I'm not going to discuss choreography a lot, but let's say most of the time I've played with this at this point is the A2 section. So when I look at my A2 group, I do change levels on the side rather than have everything over the top. And what you'll notice here with Thomas, it's set up, tabs 1 and 2 are always music and lyrics and will always be music and lyrics. So you can't touch them. You can touch 3 and on and do what you want with them. I like the list and the definitions. I leave them there. I like to have the ability to go through and take a look at it on a whim if I need to. The next thing I have is something called corner box. So I know how I call, and I can see corner boxes really quick, really easy. You can find them, almost in your sleep at this point in time. Partner lines, I find them all the time, right? But I don't want to use my standard memorized little choreo get-outs at either one of those. And so what I'm doing for me is I'm going to be able to cite to a corner box, and I'm going to say, I'm calling along and say, okay, corner box, here it is. I got it coming along. What's the call that I want to use? I'm going to use this get-out this time. And it's pass and roll, whatever. So I'm going to make sure that as I'm doing the choreography, that the calls that lead up to the first call here flows. That's really my only job as I'm calling. I'm doing whatever, and I'm like, I do not want to say, like, have a right and left or a pass through to a partner trade to a pass and roll or something. I'm going to make sure that the calls flow. So if you decide to use the method that I'm using, realize that on a whim, you've got to make sure it all blends, right, so that it's seamless. But once it's there, I can then go ahead and do this. If I don't like this one, a single keystroke, loud single keystroke, we'll change it over to the next thing, or I can change it back. And similarly, as I'm calling and I'm like, oh, this isn't a partner, I thought I had this, no, I guess I got a partner situation. One click and I'm over to a partner line situation. And if I made a mistake, I can go back. And you'll notice I idiot-proofed me because I know me, I can't read. And so I would think I'm going to hit 5 and I'd hit 6 and then I'd start calling what's there and it won't be there. So even though it's the tab that says corner box, I sure in heck put at the top of it the words corner box so that when I look down, I'm not a moron and call the wrong thing. Know how stupid you are and embrace it. So I know me, that's what I'm going to do. So this is how I've done it. I've got corner box, partner line. I've also got a couple of openers in this case. I've got my singing call figures in this particular area, and I've got one I've started for different ideas where it's just little snippets to remind me, oh, you could do fractional square throughs for a change, or you haven't done this. So I can look at something and maybe come up with an idea if I'm having a tough night. So that's how I decided to set it up. So knowing that, then we went back to setting it up this way. So as Jack has already showed you, you got options and choreography. This one here is going to show you where everything is. And as he mentioned, global overrides anything that you don't touch. If you didn't do anything with it, global wins. And that's what happens. And you'll notice that it says name tab 1 here is equal to list. Because as I mentioned, you can't touch 1 and 2. Now, I would have made that name tab 3, but I didn't program it, and I certainly couldn't do it on my own, so I will let him do whatever he wants. But in these tabs down here, in my head, I -2. So, or I add 2, whichever one you want to do and keep it track of. So name tab 1 in this case is really referring to the number 3 list. Name tab 4, or name tab 2 as this says, is 4. So whatever it works, realize. So when I went to change anything, because I liked 1 through 4, the first one I changed is 3. But you'll notice this one still says start, because this is the global thing that overrides. So in my case, I wanted to do A2. So on A2, I decided to have just 8 tabs. I left 1 and 2 alone, that's why they are blank over here, because they're list and definitions. It's going to go back and get it off the global setting. Number 3, I created to be corner box, and then I changed the font because I think Veranda reads better for me, because I always call with my glasses on the top of my head. If I have to read, I can either see you or I can see that, and that's my decision.
At least
So,
you have something on the top of
whatever
his
you
head.
gotta do, or yeah, if something comes off the top of my head, then obviously
It gives him
I can see
something.
it.
Yeah.
Look, you get what you pay for. All right. So, so that kind of stuff is there. Now, there's a few other things, not too much here. You can decide what you want from a screen. We are looking at, I think I'm looking at what, singers in the background there. So, for example, there's this other tab here under singers. You see it says full tab screen. You can make that true or false. If I make that true and accept it, what happens here is you will lose this section to the left. If you need the space for whatever reason, you want to make it bigger, you have that capability if you so choose. And you can come back here again, go to options, choreography, and you can easily, it's not gone forever. I know people tend to panic. So I'm looking at, again, singers down here. I'll switch that back from true to false. And we are back to having everything right back on the side where it is. So it's there. So that's the first step. You decide what you want to put on these tabs, as same as Jack did. Name them all across the top as to whatever you're going to want to have there. So you can add those, you can delete those. Hold on, I'll go back here. And deleting the tabs would be, I've got 8 showing here. Globally, there's 9. But I only wanted 8, I didn't need the extra stuff there. And again, to Jack's point, if I go to plus over here, and come back, there was a time, and I know when it was because of the link that's on here. If you go to the tech definitions, I created a tab for the tech defs, which are different for MIT than the other ones. They're shorter, and basically it's like, what am I teaching this week? Oh, okay, it's week 6, I'm teaching this. And I know when I put it here because I copied it, and there's a link, unfortunately, that says to 2014. So for whatever reason, I left that there. But you can do that, that link is active, and that's why I get a couple of these errors. I don't use it very often anymore, and I came through and did some other stuff. So coming back over there, you can add them, full tree, looking at my time. Okay, so the database itself is also broken up by levels. And how you decide to categorize it, again, plan ahead, you can do you, this is the way I do it, it's not right or wrong. But in this case, you're going to go to, where am I going? Tools, Choreography Manager, I wrote this down. Yeah, I know, I'm going to return it in a copyright. All right, so this is the Choreography Manager. When you come in here, right now you can see in this upper corner, it's connected to the database that is C4. I don't call C4. Therefore, I have no reason to use C4. And there is nothing in C4, so I am going to get an improper argument when I open it up because there's nothing to look at, nothing to show me. You can click on over here on database. I hope that mouse is big enough for you. I made it really large. So it doesn't matter, like again, 3A, I don't do anything, you'll get an improper argument. As soon as you pick a level where there's something there, then it'll populate accordingly. So don't panic when you see improper argument. It will populate accordingly. He says, eventually, loudly, and populate accordingly. Sweet.
For those listening on the tape, he's
We are
got the
waiting.
dreaded
Glass of death.
hourglass.
Broke it.
Yeah.
I know this works, I just did it.
Moving it around seems to help.
Yeah, it does. trying to see if I can get out of it and close it for you so I can speed this up. Escape ain't gonna do it. I'm gonna have to shut it down. Hold on. Excuse me while I try and solve a computer problem. Control, delete. Oh. Yeah, close the window. Yeah, naturally this was gonna happen, right? All right, so give me a second. There it goes. Come back here, try it again. See if it wants to open up. We go back to Tools, Choreography Manager. I know. Database, PS2, go ahead.
Yeah, we're right back where you were.
Pause the tape at this point. Go get a sandwich. I want to see what the
What if
problem
it's
is.
because the HDMI plugged in?
I don't know.
Unplug it with it.
Hold on, we'll try it a different way.
Try a different level.
Everything's under A2, so that's where I have it. Honestly, I was just in there at 2 o'clock.
And it populated accordingly?
It did populate accordingly. So we will start over again. All right, so anyways, I'm going to restart the whole thing just in case there's something going
I'll
on.
ask a question.
And you're going to ask a question.
What?
That makes Jack has to come down with a point.
Sorry, Jack.
And again, I apologize to the tape accordingly. Thank you, Tony.
Holly Ferreira from Sutter, California. When you've got a bunch of stuff in your database that you no longer want to use, that how can we delete it out of, because I've had trouble, I put stuff in there and I didn't want it in there anymore,
Yeah.
but I can't, it won't delete like from Square View, and then I tried to, if I delete, I don't want to delete it off my main computer, off of where I put it into Square View. How do I get it back out? Just
Well,
delete
are you
it?
talking about deleting it from Jack's way, where it's
No,
a
no.
file, or
No,
you put it
I-
actually into the database like I'm talking
It's in
about?
the text file, like it's in Square View and it's under Choreo, a separate
Right.
folder, and then I've got several things in that folder, and then I pull it up, go into the directory, find it, and then the database, but I can't get it, like, I didn't like it, I was practicing, I was just playing around, but I can't get rid of it.
You can, it's step 7 over here on my list. of how
Okay,
to
all
delete
right.
when I put something in. But ultimately, I mean, I'll try to show you when you get there, the computer is rebooting at this point. But you can't go to the database itself. You have to edit it as if you would go there. So you open it up to edit it like you would do anything else. And instead of choosing File, Save to Database, you'll choose File, Delete from Database, and then reload, and it'll go away at that point in time. Because there is no technical file to get rid of. It's sitting in the database someplace else.
Of course, if you do it the manual way, you could just save a file in a folder,
Yeah.
and you can change the pages and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so that is that way. Almost there. Welcome to computers. So what we're going to do in just a second is, hopefully, if it shows you, it's also the naming convention of the database itself that you want to be able to signify what you want to call it. So in my case, the file names, if you will, inside the database start with the level. So it's either starts A2, A1, plus, whatever you want, an underscore at that point in time. The type of file. So in this case, I want it to match my header or my tab at top. So it's going to be A2 underscore CB for corner box, PL for partner line. I also have singing, and I forget what the other one I had in there, openers. So either one of those would go in, and then some type of numbering system to make sure you know what you have. And in my case, I'm a little OCD, I work with it at work. You do not want to do A2 corner box 1, A2 corner box 2, because as soon as you get to 11, then you're going to have A2 corner box 1, 11, 2, and then so forth. So I made 001 thinking I have no need to have more than 999 get-outs from any particular location. You may feel otherwise, in which case you may want 4 numbers. We have another question while it's still booting here. Thank you, Bob.
Yeah. So while we're there, I think I'm Bob Riggs from Colorado. There appears to me, and I haven't seen everything you're doing, Ted, but there's a third option, and that's building files that have whatever your choreography is and putting them in a folder and using the choreo. It effectively creates a playlist structure that you can then put on a tab, and you have the same kind of thing you have in a database, but it's file-based rather than in the database.
Yeah, the system does have the ability to use the file base. I went with what Thomas was showing you the database.
I understand, and I just wanted to bring up the fact that there's this sort of third option to the two you're presenting that's file-based rather than in the database.
It's a good point. I think there's another question in the back. As Tony Oxendine gracefully runs through the room. Thank you.
Mike Sikorsky, Arizona. I use Bob's way. Create your choreography, save it as a file, and label it accordingly whatever you need, but then it goes in the file folder for that level. And then, so if I need C2 choreography or if I want A2 choreography, the tab, I label the tab and it links. My point is this, what is the file format? Are you using HTML or PDF? When it goes in a file folder, you then link, as Bob Riggs is talking about, you then link that tab to that file, and then when you click on that tab in Square View, you just arrow down to go to the next choreo selection. It just goes from file to file to file to file to file. And I want to know if those are PDF or HTMLs.
Or text.
Bob was going to say HTML on his because I don't do it his way.
Or text. Text file.
Or text files.
Oh, okay, that's good.
And there's
Got a
there,
question over here, Tom.
Rick, on the corner. I can't believe this.
Unbelievable.
What?
It's unbelievable.
Rick Manning, Southern California. I use the PDF format because the text sometimes, if I make certain things larger, that I want to emphasize that call, it will lose it in the text file.
Right.
So PDF works better for me than text.
And I'll reiterate earlier, Square View sees PDF very good. It does a nice job of seeing PDFs.
All right. I'll try something different.
Seems to be working really well.
No, I know, right?
Populating recording.
Trying to give you lots of time there.
Yeah, I appreciate you trying. I'm trying to switch over, trying to do it a different way. I'll see if I can get back in to lose my improper argument.
Maybe your computer's got a virus.
Might be. Or I'm not connected to the interwebs. I don't have the Facebooks. But let's take a look at, I'm trying to follow along with my bouncing ball here that I had. So just to go in. So the database is there. You're going to name it properly. So it's A2, corner box, numbers, however you're going to do whatever it is. From that point on, you go in and you have to create the get out. And on the bottom of the tab, which I can't get to show you right now, in that same window, yeah, I know, it's trying really hard to do whatever it's going to do. It's thinking about it. I got 2 windows now.
Could be a problem.
I don't know. It's thinking. At least that's going away. Try this and this.
You want to plug back in?
Not yet.
Aren't you playing that in a dance?
Yeah, no kidding, right? Well, I wouldn't use it in a dance.
Just use jacks. Would you like a hammer?
That's
Can you show it online?
I don't know. I just don't want to go. I can try yours just to show you where it is, but I don't know what's going to be in there. I'm going to probably get the same argument.
You can change anything you want.
Hold on a second.
I don't use that computer anymore.
Where's this going?
Flat button. There you go.
This one. Well, let's see if this works on jacks. So tools, choreography. Boom. So Jack's got some stuff in there. Yours is with files. I don't really want
Yeah.
to mess too much with your
No,
stuff.
go ahead. You're fine. Do what you gotta do.
All right. We'll see. So yours is under here, under basic. If I switch over to mainstream, does I get 0? That's what it should do, is go 0 and leave me alone at this point in time. So from here, if you wanted to create a file, well, thanks for moving the mouse, dude. All right, you're gonna go over here, and I'm like, why is everything going crazy? You're gonna go to choreography, and this will open up a sub window. And then you're gonna create whatever choreography you wanna create at this point. So in this case, again, I'm forgetting where did I just list mainstream, right? Is that where I'm sitting?
Yep.
So if I go in here and you want a mainstream get out, again, I'm going to try and type this way. So we're going to do a corner box or some sort of thing from here, and then pick out anything you want to do. Doesn't really matter. I had something that I was going to do, so I can change it later, but just to make sure that I got my same notes. So let's say we're going to do touch the quarter and roll. Say this is plus just because. Pass through, right and left, grand. Because there's a couple other little things that tend to happen from here. Sweet mother, oh God. So once you get it in here and it's up, and then the idea here is you can't use save or save as, these little ones that you use everywhere else, because you'll make files to somebody's point. So if you want to add it to the database, you have to go File, Save to the Database. And to answer your point, Holly, there is the delete to database at that point in time. So if you decide you don't want it. So you go Save to Database, and then where do you want to save it? So you've got basic through C4. Choose, in this case, this one I'm looking at here is mainstream. And then what do I want to call it? So in this case, I'm looking at a mainstream level. I am doing a corner box get out, so I'm going to put CB, and then I'm going to do 001. So I'm going to save it, and I'm going to use the same name both times here, the first time I do it. At this point, I'm going to say OK. It's saved into the database. If I reload it here, in theory, it should show up. But again, this is Jack, so I'm not sure. We're going to go back to mainstream, and there it is, mainstream CB 001. I don't have a tab here to show you because it's not working right. Oh man. So in this case, you would come back out to whatever tab you had this set up on. I'm going to mess up your stuff, Jack.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
So you would come out here, instead of these teaching plans, you would connect this to the database, and you'd want to look at mainstream, and you'd say OK, and there it is. So at that point, it shows up. If you wanted to narrow that down, once you've got more stuff in here, you would come in here and say, what type did you want to do? I'm looking at CB for corner box, PL for partner line, so that on the different tabs, I can separate out what I want to do. Once they're there, you can look through them. Again, A and S, I suggest you learn your hotkeys. They will allow you to move between the different ones so that you can see what you want to look at. You can also edit these when you come back in. Again, you go back here to Tools, Choreography Manager. If I want to re-edit this one, I can view it, take a look at it, edit the cue sheet, start over again. I did have some issues, and I'll see if I have the same issues here, using acronyms. If I went and tried to use, I gotta edit it. If I try to use RLG, I got errors. When I started, when you go to File, save it to the database, and overwrite what's there, I got an improper argument. It doesn't like three-letter acronyms, so RLG, RLT, BTL, PTO don't work. Neither does mix at A2. So I solved the problem by putting in a space in front of it, and then going again, File, save to the database, overwrite it, the same number. Do you want to overwrite it? Yes. It'll take the space for the RLG if you feel like you need to for whatever reason. And then if you come back out here, and again, as Jack was saying, you hit reload, it'll slide over. So in case you get that particular error. Now say you want to use this and go somewhere else with it. Again, you can go to database, sorry, Tools, Choreography Manager. Come back in here and say you want to make a copy. I'm getting tired, Jack?
But
I
that
can bet, I understand why.
These mics are heavy.
Yeah, I know you're there. So you go from here, I can start with this one. So I'm going to view this, this one here. And let's say I like that one, but I want to make another one with the same general idea. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to edit this cue sheet. And instead of pass through, I'm going to make it difficult. So I'm going to say split circulate. It's still a pass through. So it's the same idea, it doesn't matter, but it sounds cooler or whatever your reason. So you can start with the same shell and continue to make whatever else you'd like to do. The only change, sweet mother. I gotta call it dance on Tuesday. Hope that thing works. So from here, you would go and save it to the database, and you would change it from a 1 to a 2, or whatever your next number is, or if you want to overwrite one that already exists. At that point in time, you say, okay, you've saved it, you come back out here, you reload, you've now got 2 of them, and they'll sort based on title. You come back out to this particular spot, and you reload it, and you notice your numbers 1 and 2 have changed. So again, S is going to move you up 1 number, A will move you back 1 number, because quite often you call what's there, and everybody applauds because it's wonderful, and then they go away, and you've got a round answer, you come back up, you get to the same location, you look down, and you're like, oh no, I just used that one. And you don't want to sit here and bend over, thanks, with the mouse, right, and try to fix this thing. I want to go to the next one, I want to go to the next one. Unless some of you are using those things where it's right in front of you and you can't see your dancers. So I like to use the A and the S key, and it'll move me one way or the other and see where it's going from there. So that is everything from that point on. The only other thing which I was going to do for you, but I can't too much, is you do have the capability inside the database, similar to what Jack was doing, is to use the call feature, and you could search for whatever it is that you want to call. So if you have singing calls that you're looking for, and you're trying to get to, you just did split transfer or whatever, and you want a singing call figure that has it, you can come into your singing call tab, come down to the bottom, and under your singing call type, you can search for a certain word that you'd like to look for, and it will track that down for you and limit what you have. I don't believe you anymore. You're not going to show me what I want, are you? No, you're not. So it'll show you whatever the calls are, and what you'll see is your number here is 1 to whatever. Also, if you come into this for the first time and you do not put in a type, so to narrow it down to corner box or partner line or whatever it is that you've got this organization, it will show you everything. The whole kit and caboodle. You'll get everything you have, top to bottom, very similar to what Jack had. And you'll have to scroll through and find it. So narrowing it down by type will get you what you want on any specific tab at this point. So that is it in a nutshell. My apologies, honest, I just worked at it too, to make sure that it was working, so that went well. But I do again suggest you go out and view Thomas's. He didn't have anywhere near the technical difficulties I did. So that does tend to help, and he could fix them. But it does tend to work, and in my case, I put in about 40 or 50 that I use. I don't use them constantly. I'm not a get out kind of guy. But if you want to have them there, you can certainly update them. So if there's any other questions, we can entertain.
Do you use the mic?
You gotta use the mic, that's, oh, we get you.
Holly Ferreira, Sutter, California. So you would do your playlist, let's say you have your choreography in your database right there, and you wanted to do a playlist of particular choreography for a certain dance. You do it the same way, it looks like, on there, as you would for a playlist of your music. So you would be doing this, it looks like it's the same thing, added.
So you're trying to put in full choreographic sequences, which you're supposed to do?
I don't know, why would they have that there? That's, yeah. It says choreography list, and like if you want to do a playlist, is that what it means? Because it looks just like
I don't know where you are.
Where you were in the Choreography Manager?
Okay.
Yeah, to the right. The one to the right.
Oh, over on this side.
I'm just wondering about that one.
I personally have not used that side. I don't know if anybody else in the room has. I know that you can add a bunch of stuff over there. I haven't used it. So.
Tim Marino, Oroville, California.
On the navigation, are you using the very top tabs to do your navigating? At the very top where like...
These up here?
Yes.
Yeah. And I left the numbers in there so that I could press the numeric key to get to where I want to go. So it's 5- corner box, 6- something.
Okay, so but you can still use your navigation like on the bottom, on your regular numbers too, so you don't have to stretch so much to see those little bitty tabs. Like if you would punch the number 5 on yours, on your keyboard, the number 5.
Well, yeah, it'll still go over.
It overrides it?
Yeah, it'll go over to the 8th tab, what it thinks is the 8th tab. This is Jack's, so it's the 9th tab or whatever. I left the number there so that I knew. Again, I'm idiot proofing. That's why I got the words corner box at the top.
Second thing, backing up your laptop, does everybody do that, I hope? Like carbonite or something, you know?
Yeah,
You
well,
might need it come Tuesday is what I was saying.
yeah, I know, right? I know, I might.
He just used mine.
I just used Jack's.
Well,
There was
that
another
part about-
question.
Yeah, but that part about me using your computer tomorrow.
There's just going to be no get outs. It'll be one long tip. Should be fine. What could go wrong? What could go wrong?
Well, Byerly, North Carolina.
Yep.
Just a housekeeping issue. I'm a little confused. You've got a folder that says Choreo, and then you've got another folder within that folder for SSD, mainstream.
I think that's for you.
And then within those folders, do you have corner box, get out, and then files within those folders that say 001, 002?
So that was like a dual question.
It's a kind of a dual question you have.
So,
yeah.
so to answer your
Well,
first
I'm
question.
confused. That's why it's a dual question.
Yeah, to answer your first question, yes, I do have folders within folders. I do not have them separated out by corner box and partner line and whatnot. I have tabs. I mean, I have the file with all the get outs in it, and at the top I have the corner box with partner line. And I just navigate through that particular file.
It's like get all the questions from one side.
Um,
We're trying to help you with your stuff.
But yes, I do have folders within folders. You know, it starts with choreo, then it goes to what level, down to, whether it's a get out or some, cards or whatever the case may be.
And to compound with that, I also, when I did it Jack's way, I started to do folders within folders of different tabs, which is one of the reasons I switched to this. I didn't, Jack's way works well from having everything in a list. So he's got a tab down if he wants an out of sequence partner or whatever, he's got a tab down to find it and see where it is. I don't call that way. We all call differently. So I don't need that for me. I'd have to figure out how to set up the opposite lady from wherever. Some people do that well, some people don't. So whatever works for you is fine. I find that that is just enough for me. Most of the stuff I have is in my head. I just want something extra to every once in a while look down and go, oh, let me try this one. Or let me try something different.
Exactly.
That's kind of what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same thing too. At this point, I know all the get outs. I just have to tab to it, see the beginning of it. It's like, oh yeah, I want to do this get out. I want to do that get out. So yeah, it's not like we're reading the get outs because you've used them over and over and over. It's just a memory hit thing.
So, I think for clarity of some of the people who are a little bit confused, there are 3 different methods.
More probably.
And more, I'm sure. What Ted is talking about is basically using the attributes on that save screen to put those in as records within a database. And he's using the criteria of type and where it's stored and calls to bring up selected items. And you could think of them as files if you want to think about. In that one screen where he had listed the items that he put in, there was that space that Holly was mentioning on the right-hand side. If you were using files, those files would be listed on that right-hand side. They're not part of the database in the same sense. They're stored as part of a playlist file, which is in another place. So it's a completely different method. And then what Jack's doing is, again, a completely different method of providing access to things. None of these are wrong. they're all just variants, and you have to figure out which one you like.
So one of the nice things about my manual method is you could be at work, working in an Excel sheet, the boss goes by, you just switch tabs. Anyway.
Okay. It's not bad, Jack. It's not a bad idea.
This is being recorded, right?
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, but my boss is in a square.
His boss does not watch this, so there's that's pretty good. So as I mentioned at the beginning, to Bob's point, there is a plethora of ways, I think, to utilize this. And Tom has set up a bunch of different things to do. So please, whatever we're doing here, this is just an idea. Jack's is an idea. You combine the two, you do neither of them. I suggest you go out and see what Thomas presented. You may come up with a whole new situation. And then you can do this next year and try to help us out. But it is certainly different, and hopefully it opens up something new than actually walking in with a piece of paper and going, what do I want to do here? Or trying to write it down. So maybe it'll open up a few different doors for you.
Any other questions?
Al Fraser from Texas. How did you say you got to Thomas's?
Yep, it's under the GSI Caller School. So you can Google GSI, Grand Square International Caller School. And I think the URL is GSI Callers School. I'm not sure if there's two S's or one, so I don't want to give it to you. But, and then once you get to that page, you'll see at the top it says class, CLASS. And that's going to give you the class video series. And I think there's 40 videos that are in there. And
That's me.
that's you? Okay. Don't do that. All right, and then you can scroll through them, and you're looking for Thomas. Yeah, and there'll be SQ1 and 2. The database was discussed the second time he came back.
Did you tell him it's in Swedish?
Well, I didn't want to spoil the surprise. Yeah, so it's here. Class videos are there. Did you move it? Yes. Class videos are there. And then you'd have to find Thomas wherever he is here. I don't know, what are we searching for? Will Thomas work? Right? There he is. So Thomas, SQView 1 and 2. And this is the one that he did in 2020. So that'll get you some extra information.
And as Ted said, there's about 50 in there, isn't there?
I think there's 40, but yeah.
40.
So
There's some really good stuff in there. So if you haven't had a chance to go look at it, there's more than just SquareView. We had a lot of presenters.
Yeah, you won't find it on YouTube.
Right.
You have to go
Fun
there.
year.
Yeah, it was a
Great year.
Great year.
Yeah, COVID. Let's do it. So is there any other questions that we can help with at this point in time? All right, gang. Then we'll see you guys later. Dinner tonight. Thank you for coming. Sorry for the technical difficulties.
How about a nice hand for Ted?
What the hell happened?